What's up, everybody? So, this video that you're about to watch was recorded less than 12 hours before the ban announcements. So, obviously, the 3 cards that got banned today at time of this recording are going to be on there, but to make sure the video still has a bit of content, there are quite a few more cards that are on the watch list. So, thank you guys for sticking around and watching. Thank you, Jasco, for watching the live stream. I appreciate it. Thanks. You could have just sent me a DM. But it was it's a good long video, and I share a lot of thoughts on what I think will make the game a little more healthy. So, with that, thank you much for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoy. Chat, I want to talk about some stuff today. Season 2's over. I'm pretty sure that it's done. Is this the right camera? Yeah, we're good. Yeah, season 2's over. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about the set 2, end of set 2 watch list, right? The cards that I think that should be watched. Now, I do want to preface this with a little bit of, man, I don't necessarily love ban list discussions. I don't love them, but I think it's important for the community to know that, like, this list is not because I'm just trying to be a big whiny baby, right? I just want to put the feelers out there, get a discussion going, because there's a lot of ideas of, like, these very specific single card. Hey, you fix this one card and the whole format's fixed. And I don't think that's true. I think there's like 8 to a dozen cards that you could easily get rid of, and the health of the game would skyrocket. The health of the game would be so much higher. And so I just want to, like, put out my list, and I truly mean that this is a watch list. I don't think that every single one of these cards should be banned, but I do think that there is something to be said about the cards that I'm going to talk about, right? There's something to be said about, like, either ban them or errata them, or something can whatever happen, right? And there are solutions that Jasco could do, right? And so I haven't kind of broken down a little bit. So I want to start off by talking about the character cards that I think are just, like, a little overtuned. And I want to give a big breakdown of, like, why they're on my list. I think it's really easy to just be like, I don't feel good about this character, just get rid of them, right? I don't feel good about these cards, just get rid of them. But what I want to do is I actually want to sit down and have a conversation, have some discourse with you guys in the channel, or you guys in the Twitch chat, to like just chat about what's going on, right? How do you guys feel about it? Because at the end of the day, we are playing a game, a competitive game, but your feelings along with the facts and logic do matter, right? Your feelings matter, my feelings matter. Hell, Jasco's feelings matter. But if nobody's having fun playing the game, even if the game was perfectly balanced, cards should go. So the first characters that I want to talk about are Asui and Tokoyami. And the reason that they're first on my list is because on the watch list, they're the highest priority for to be possibly touched. They're on the watch list. Once again, I'm not saying that anything should be banned. I just want to talk about, like, the idea of a watch list. The amount of non-games that these 2 characters can pose a threat to is insane, right? Like, I was talking to somebody who will remain anonymous because I don't have the permission to talk about the conversation that we had. But I was talking about how much I didn't like Mineta. I didn't like Mineta. I just didn't like that character. And he said something along the lines of, "Yo, I think that it is way better to grind out an unwinnable matchup versus Mineta so that you can hopefully have a chance, rather than lose to something on turn 2 and feel bad about it," right? And so I respect this person's opinion a lot, and I was at a lunch with them. I respect this person's opinion a lot, and I've been thinking a lot about it, and I actually completely agree. My round 1 in yesterday's tournament, the day before's tournament, the last provisional of the season, I fought against Asui, and I lost 2-0 in 15 minutes, and then I sat on stream and did nothing for 45 minutes. Sorry, 55 minutes because of the 10 minutes of overtime, where other people got to play the game. And that sucks. That sucks. I think that being able to as Jace in the comments says, reliably kill turn 2 is good for the game, right? And so when we talk about Asui, the fact that she discards all the cards from her card pool, the fact that she gives +2 speed, so chaining out her blocks is really hard. Like, I'm a big proponent of get rid of the +2 speed and then see how it lies. Because like, if I'm allowed to block 3 or 4 things on turn 3, right? If I go first, I feel like I actually get to survive against the character. And then Tokoyami being an enhanced character that says all my moves get bigger, all your moves get worse. And the kit that he has access to, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the presentation, I think that this character just like accidentally kills you on turn 2, which I think should be a thing that can happen and should happen. I believe that aggro decks should exist. I think that these characters are just a little too consistent at it. I would love to like know the data on like Tim Keefe going in and being like, yo, when I played in my round, how many times did I actually when I won my regional, how many times did I kill my opponent on turn 2 throughout the entire day, right? That's a number that I'd like to know, right? And I think that stuff's important. And maybe I'm wrong about like touching Tokoyami, but he's on my watch list, right? Tokoyami isn't reliably killing turn 2. He can do it on accident, but he's not going to do it all the time. Correct. Yeah. But I want that. I want the number, right? The next character I want to talk about is Ocako. Man, I love this character to death. I love this character so much. I think everything she's got going on 2 of her symbols is really cool. I don't like the Chaos symbol as like the cards that it has access to, but I respect the Chaos Ochakos that are doing well. There was one in Top Cuts yesterday. That top response is nuts. It's nuts. It is so, it says that the first move of Ochako's turn is just unblockable. It's uninteractable. You have to do some absolutely asinine hoops to jump through in order to stop that first response, and that is like clear your card pool is so good, steal a free momentum is so good, discard a card out of my opponent's hand is so good. Not even talking about the fact that enhance commit, add an attack to your hand, and this attack becomes unblockable is very strong. So she kind of gets 2 unblockable attacks a turn, unless my opponent, once again, has to jump through a bunch of hoops. And I know that I'm going to threaten a 3rd attack because I picked one up. It's just coordinated effort, guys. That top response is just coordinated effort. Response commit after block attack resolves, build it face down. Imagine if coordinated effort didn't commit, it said once per turn, and your opponent didn't have to block it. That's what this character says. This character should 100% be on a watch list. She's very, very good. I think that there's not enough, quote, silver bullets in the format to like really stop her. But there are some incredibly good ones. And so like I think Ocako could easily exist on a watch list, and if you are not respecting this character, you have not played against it enough. Truly. Up next, we've got Momo and Cementos. Obviously, I like both of these characters. I think that Cementos is a problem, even though I played him in the event. And I think that these 2 characters are on my watch list because I think the only way that they consistently lose is when they fight like these 2 or this one. There isn't an argument for like Kirishima 2 existing, but I think Kirishima 2 is so unbelievably fair. I think he's like a very, very fair version of the things that these characters are doing late in the game. If we get rid of these hyper aggro turn 2-esque decks, right? If we get rid of the ones that just kill you on turn 2, if I got to turn 5 with my Cementos deck, you couldn't kill me. It wasn't possible. And I feel the same way with Momo. I feel if you let Momo build up this defensive wall even a little bit, she gets to an unlosable game state. Not even necessarily like an auto win game state, but an unlosable one. And I think that is fine. I think it's fine. But once again, this is not a ban list. It's a watch list. I think as set 3 comes out and both these characters have access to more tools, you should be keeping track of like what exists, right? once again, not a ban list, it's a watch list. And I am nervous about how the pendulum will swing whenever we get away from this like hyper aggro meta and we move on to this defensive meta. When it comes to the Momo that we watched in the provisionals yesterday, and I got to sit and watch Chris Bromley play against Ryan Field in top cuts. I was like, if Chris has one more turn in this game, he can't. I don't think that Ryan kills him, right? And so the fact that like you had to kill this character on turn 2, turn 3 every single time was just like really disheartening. And there are a lot of characters that can play this life package effectively. Speaking of yesterday, am I hungover? No, I'm fine. I had 2 drinks. I think there are characters that can play this life symbol effectively and be fine with it. Next, I want to talk about assets and actions. My plan is to do like one of these watch lists like over and over again, and so I'm just gonna like include it. I have Ready, Get, Set, Go and Summon Dark Shadow, but like the thing is like. So I want to talk about Summon Dark Shadow first, right? Because it's the crazy one. If you get rid of Summon Dark Shadow, then you don't have to get rid of Tokoyami, and you should reprint a Summon Dark Shadow, because that guy picks up a Summon Dark Shadow, right? Like, this is exclusively calling for an errata. I don't know what to do, but this is one of the cards that says that you just kill people on turn 2, right? This is just it. No Sugar Rush. I've fallen off Sugar Rush. I think Sugar Rush is just an extra 4 damage attack. I've fallen off on Sugar Rush. You could put it on your watch list, and now I would love to see your guys' watch list. But I think this card, it's one of 3 cards in the Tokoyami kit that needs to be touched, and this is just one of them, so I have to talk about it, right? But like if you touch this guy, then you don't have to touch this guy, right? Now I want to talk about Ready, Get, Set, Go. I think that this card. Its only downfall is the fact that it's not a 5 diff. I heard Phil talking about it on stream yesterday, that this card should have been failable on turn 1 going second. I think that's actually counterplay. I think that the only reason this card is not banned is we're not allowed to attack on turn 2. Sorry, on turn 1, excuse me. So my opponent goes, builds out their 4. I Ready, Set, Go, and I build in 2 foundations, possibly a third with something like new training method, and then I just pop off. If we could attack on turn 1, this card would never have been printed. And so the fact that like it just says that turn 2 has such a high defense, I don't know. I don't love this card. I always felt so incredibly safe going in and just like holding 3 blocks versus my opponent having built out like a correct amount. With that said though, like once again, I don't think the card should be necessarily banned. I would love to have like a state of the game of like, they keep taking all this data, this information of like, what's the percentage of people winning first versus second, right? They have that information. Some of it's a little skewed, but I would say 95% of that data is correct. Why can't we see that, right? I think Sugar Rush getting hit possibly takes Tokoyami off the watch list. Maybe River. Maybe. But once again, I don't see Sugar Rush as that big of a deal. Having played it in an event, having played against it in events, I have always felt like Sugar Rush, it's just 4 more damage, and it just says that people should play more resets, which they are, right? Like people are playing a lot more speed resets, which means that the damage doesn't matter, right? So I want to see what the turn 1 player versus turn 2 player advantage actually looks like on Ready, Get, Set, Go, and to see if it is a problem or a solution to the discrepancy. And if that's the case, then I'm very bummed that it only has 3 symbols and actually doesn't have the infinity symbol, right? But then it's like an auto include in every deck, right? And so like Plus Ultra was an auto include in every deck in season 1, and that kind of felt like that card was close to borderline to like a watch list, and now it's not being seen in every deck. Like, so maybe having like a set 2 response, right? After Revel plays their 4th foundation. If this card actually had a set 2 response, and not just anybody could play it and had the infinity symbols, I think it actually is like a really fair and balanced card. It gives a set 2 characters like a reason to want to be played, right? Imagine these characters not being able to play this card. this character not being able to play this card, these characters not being able to play this card. Like, I think that they're like this is just like a little torch. But that's all I had for actions and assets. I think the assets are totally fine. I think the actions, it's just those two, right? And you could make an argument for Sugar Rush, but I think that card was a little overhyped, right? A little overhyped. I want to talk about attacks now. Back Alley Haymaker and Unwavering Slash. These are value town. Insane value cards. What about Box? Box is fine. I absolutely love Back Alley Haymaker. One of my top 3 favorite cards in the entire game. I want to play this card at a 3 of it minimum in every deck that I can. It's a 5 mid or 4 mid for 5. It's got EX2. It's got Stun 2. It draws you a card or builds you a card. It's got a decent block. The only bad part about the card is the fact that it's a mid block, and so you get punished with the easy mid block breaker blocks, but it really says discard a card out of your opponent's hand, because like slamming them for 5 damage hurts. It really hurts. This card is just hella value. And one of my teammates, Chris Bromley, brought out the good point of the fact of, like, if you look at the other stun 2 attacks that exist in the format, the ones that gain stun 2, they're all very slow, right? Like the other big stun 2 attack that exists, not surprisingly, under 2 of these symbols, good in life, is the Create Capture Net. And that card says it's a 5 diff, but it's a 2 low for 4 that stuns 2. Yeah, it gets to build you the foundation. So does this card, right? I think this card has just like a little bit too much value turned into it, and you could say the exact same thing with Unwavering Slash. Discard a card to build an asset face up. The card doesn't come in committed, so you instantly get to use it. And then enhance, if you did that, you instantly replace the card that you discarded, as well as ready a card that has not been ready this combat phase. This can, in conjunction with a ton of really powerful enhanced commit under these 3 symbols, you just blow people out. It's just so much value. It's so much value. And I think these cards are just a little too good. I think these cards, just like this incremental of value, is just like a little it's just a little too much. I think they should be on watch lists. I think Unwavering Slash of these 2 is the first to go, because it means that, like, they can't print crazy assets, right? Like, they can't print like a 5 difficulty insane game-winning asset under these 3 symbols, because Unwavering Slash just builds it in, right? Man, the deck building cost of playing this really sick, really crazy broken asset is null and void, because I just discard a card and build it, right? Even if I have it in my hand, right, I'll just discard that card as cost. How'd that asset get in there? All right, I'll build it on my stage. All right, now I'll pop off and win the game. I think this card was fine for the set 1 meta. I guess it's fine for the set 2 meta. I think it should just go. Of the cards I'm calling for bans, this card should just be gone. I think Unwavering Slash should just go. Next, I've got Zero Gravity Lift and Chrome Frog Takedown. Once again, these are just watch lists. Once again, just watch lists. And these cards do both the same job. They say that Zero Gravity Lift with a bit of a setup. It's a very heavy damage hitting throw that says the next turn that I play becomes incredibly easy, incredibly cheap. I'll just remove this thing from my momentum and say that the next thing goes to my momentum. Every character turns into this one. Every single character goes into this one. It's just really good on turn 2, and then turn 3 you kill somebody. And the Chrome Frog Takedown, the fact that it's a 5 diff that doesn't count as progressive difficulty, it does slug you for a 4th of your life as a 7 hand size character. And it's got the absolutely crazy effect of ready a card in your stage that's not been ready this combat phase. These 2 characters are on my watch list, right? Like it has their names on it. So maybe if you take care of them, the card is okay, right? And I'm living in a make-believe world where both of those characters are just exceptionally good at turn 2ing you people. This card is for sure one of the reasons that keeps happening. But this card just, like, it cheats progressive difficulty. Both of these cheat progressive difficulty, and it's a little rough. Up next is Dark Shadow Ruin and Frog Lashing. This is the third card I want to talk about in Tokoyami's kit. This card easily could go, right? This card could be on a watch list. This card could go. And then you leave Tokoyami and you leave Summon Dark Shadow, because the big reason that Tokoyami keeps killing people on turn 2 is because this card doesn't count towards progressive, right? Not only does it pump my stats up, right? It pumps my stats up, but now it's not even taking up a spot in my card pool. So it's increasing my speed, it's increasing my damage, it's plusing my check, and doesn't count. It's free. It's magically free. Any amount of draw power, right, says that this is insane. I don't even necessarily care that this card receives a speed and damage bonus off of it and gets the +3, +1. This is just like a free 5 damage move that's always passed. Always passed. And if I have any extras, it's just icing. And so, like, I could easily see Ruin leaving, and then you just not touch the other 2 cards that are on this watch list. But if we want to keep this really awesome ultra rare, right, that other people get to use, like we saw it showcased in Dalby yesterday. How cool, how rad. This card, like, has to go in order to keep things fair. And then as my chat is blowing up, Frog Lashing, this card is really cool in theory. This card's really, really cool in theory. Readying the 2 face downs, incredibly good. Getting damage for all my ready face downs, incredibly good. 1 mid block, breaker 1. It's ranged. It already starts at these crazy high stats. It's a 4 high for 6, probably 4 high for 8. In Asui, it's a 6 high for 8 at minimum. Could you imagine a world? I think this card's actually fair if you make this a 1 damage move. Right? If this card actually has a cost, like, it's a 3 diff, right? It's a 3 diff because it readies the 2 foundations, right? But it doesn't start as an 8 damage 3 diff, right? Keep everything the same and make it incredibly, incredibly low printed damage. I think we have a fair card, right? It scales really well with the more cards that I have flipped, and there's the issue with Asui is, like, she gets to the end of her attack strings and her text have to hit really hard. I think that this card is just, it's just got too much going on for it. Even in the characters that, like, as we go and we look back at these other characters that are doing exceptionally well in the meta, we've got Momo that can just give the +2 speed on it and then is flipping her stuff. We've got Cementos under the air symbol that flips all of his stuff to re-ready it, and you just slam this for 1,000,000 damage plus Cementos' extra damage. You've got Ocako. It's a high, so now I get to go reuse it. We've got Asui, who obviously the only reason I died in my game was triple lashing. I could deal with 2 of them hitting for 1,000. I couldn't deal with all 3. And so, like, I think this card just, like, gives you too much advantage all printed on its face. And there's not any, in another Tam talk, I talked about the idea of techniques, tactics, strategies, principles. This technique is just too good. If all of this combination of words were on a bunch of different tactics where I had to piecemeal it together in order to make things happen, I think I'm down, right? If the fact that this card didn't say ready 2 foundations on its face, but you wanted to ready the 2 foundations via the rescue completed, I think I'm in, right? But the fact that, like, this card just kind of does everything it wants to do all by its lonesome is just too good. And that's why I think both these cards should be on the watch list. Foundations. Foundation list is not that big. I think either Faith Shield or Wall Cling should go. That's up for the designers to figure out, not me. I think the fact that both Life and Water get access to 4 copies of I take no damage no matter what is just, like, not fair. If Face Shield had those bottom symbols, if they were different, I am fine with it. And if you, so like you could say, let's get rid of Wall Cling, right? Because the bottom 2 symbols have Face Shield, and then the top symbol has Confused, right? And so Confused can also take away that idea of the throw keyword. I think that these cards are fine. I just think that one of them should leave. I think having these 2 symbols have access to both of them is just a little too much. But, like, man, it's like the fact that these exist and the fact that the Life and Water symbols are just so good means that your throw decks just, like, fell off, right? Like, All Might 2 just doesn't exist anymore, which there are plenty of All Might 2 cards that could have, like, existed on the list, but, like, at the current point, I don't think that that is just the case, because like these two cards are just in the meta and it's over, right? I think I am down to kill combo decks with Face Shield, right? I'm down for it to be a hand trap. Like the issue is the fact that or like the cost to play it is the fact that it's an action in your hand. Building this card feels terrible, right? But Walkland just sits on board. It just sits and waits. It's a card you have to play around, and you can just like build out as many Walklings as you want, and you'll have them for the rest of forever. Whereas Face Shield is like, it's like a hand tax in order to like have this thing. You have to actually play the card out of your hand. Like with Walkling, I play it on the board and then I block with something relevant, right? So like there's pros and cons to both these cards, but like once again, I think the fact that Life and Water just have access to both, I think one should go. Amphibious and Passing the Torch. Amphibious is a million cards, and it's a million cards in a lot of different decks. It's a million cards in Ocako, in anything that plays Create Capture Net. It's a million cards in Froppy. It's a million cards in Gran Torino. It's a million cards. The fact that it is commit and then re-ready for free is nuts. And then a Passing the Torch says enhance, commit, draw a card. If you have no cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. It sucks that this card is on the watch list because I'm the only person that likes Midoriya 1. I'm like the guy. It's me and Lohan, right? We're just the Midoriya 1 stands. But the fact that this card gets so much value off of this card of Unwavering Slash is just a little too much. I think if I was the designer, the fix that I would do would just be to slap Unique on both of these cards. I think that being able to enhance, commit, draw a card is a thing that like is really hard to do. So let's have a history lesson, right? Let's talk about UFS, the Universal Fighting System, now Universes, now the My Hero collectible card game. Enhance, commit, draw a card didn't exist. The first time that we really got to see enhance, commit, draw a card was on a Deadlock ability of Deadlock, enhance, commit, draw a card. It was always flip, draw a card. It was always destroy, draw a card. It was always jump through some once per game style ability to draw that card. The fact that this is replayable over and over and over and over, this card is just like, it just has too much value if you find it on turn 1 and you find multiples of it on turn 1. This is part of the reason that these decks keep living, is because they always have blocks in their hand, right? The Momo deck is allowed to block whatever it wants, right? And it has the resources in hand because it's got passing. Same thing with Ocako. Same thing with Asui, right? The reason people kept dying is because I would double build out my Passing Torch and I would draw 2 cards. I'm a 9-hand size character. I'll flip this committed card and then re-ready my character back up. Like it is the fact that it is a tactic with other cards, right? But the value of get of enhance, commit, draw a card is so good if you get to do it just every single turn. So like both of these cards could be like have an additional flip cost, right? Enhance, flip. If a card is left the card pool, ready this foundation, playable, all committed. Enhance, commit, flip. Either draw a card or draw 2 cards, right? But the fact that you just like, it's so much advantage on both these guys. My personal opinion is let's make them unique. Destined for mainstream success and advice for winners. 2 cards that I bet nobody saw coming here. I think these cards should be on the watch list because I think they're slippery slopes, and I think that the decks that want them just play them at 4 ofs. Destined for mainstream success is a 1/5/2 mid block that says either draw an attack or don't fail my next check. And I think that like when you break it down in that way, it's so good. And a 4 of in every deck. I don't see how you don't play this card at a 4 of for the rest of time. For as long as this card is this is truly the idea of a staple. This is a staple card, and it shouldn't be there. And advice for winners, I think, is probably the lowest priority on any of my well, this card doesn't draw a card; it adds a card to your hand, right? Magic the Gathering has plenty of effectively free draw. That's interesting. The thing about Magic the Gathering is it's a draw 1 game, not a draw 6 game, right? And so you have to have that draw power in order to even play the game, right? If you have a deck that doesn't have draw power, you literally see 1 extra card every turn, whereas our game, we draw 6, 7 cards at the beginning of our turn, and then we draw extra, right? That was a counter to Zach, not you. I'm so sorry, my bad. My apologies. Oh, hey, look, Zach has hit a paragraph right above it. Advice for winners is, I think, truly the biggest on my list, as Black Ace says. Advice is a hot take, truly. I think that as soon as you introduce a card like Advice for Winners, this Staff Strike Jiro deck becomes the first of its kind, and more people get to play these less attack decks and pass them all safely without the risk of checking the 3, because like it just sits on your board. And when you check the 3 at the inopportune time, and you need to like if you to talk about it, it's just like it's Yu-Gi-Oh, right? If you just like have Exodia in your hand, and the only way that you lose the game is if you check bad. If you've got double Advice for Winners, you can't check bad. It's not possible, because you don't have enough cards in your deck, or you don't have enough 3s in your deck to statistically make it happen. I think at the moment this card is not that big of a deal. I think it's only really being played in 1, maybe 2 decks. But I think it should exist on the watch list of, if people start lowering their attack counts too heavy in order to play these long control decks, I think that like Advice for Winners might be the thing that does that, right? I think Staff Strike should be Momo only, to be honest. I think you're crazy. Foundations. It can't be fixed. And then Release. These, I put them on the same page, even though like I kind of had this like theme of like, oh, these cards are very similar. It Can't Be Fixed is so punishing if you have 2 on board and your opponent stuns 1. I think it just absolutely demolishes any sort of stun 1 that exists. And then Release, destroy a committed foundation for +2 to my check. Not only can my opponent not mess with that number, right? Because there's nothing in the game that like messes around with checks. But destroying a committed resource that I committed on my last move, Release just like says blockchains are so simple. You can have 10 foundations, have 2 releases up, and block 7 cards in a row. Even with your card pool being clogged. It's just really good. And the fact that we have Release on a character, right, with Momo, the fact that she gets to like double down on it, I think that this character, this card, could easily be on the watch list and be like, yo, just in case. But this card's also like, it is a tactic with the Haymaker that we talked about earlier, of like being able to just build them in for free is like really good. It's just like a really good thing to do. Same thing with the under 2 of these symbols, you have on 1 of the symbols you get the Release, on 2 symbols you get the It Can't Be Fixed. I think these cards just give like a ton of free value, and there are more cards like this that exist that could be on this watch list, but I just didn't add them here. But I think the fact of like 0/5 1 high block that says any sort of committal, right? After your rival commits any number of cards after you commit any number of cards due to your rival's effect, this card, if you blood curdle me, I get to build cards. If you stun 1 me and I've got 2 of these out, I get to build 2 free cards ready. I think the value this card gets is just like so good. I think if this card actually said response remove after you commit any number of cards to your rival's effect, build the top card of your deck face down, play ball committed, I think I'm down, right? I think like the fact that it stays there and it doesn't just like trade itself for a new thing is where my issue is. Going positive because my opponent's trying to play the game against you sucks. Tam's thoughts. I am not calling for a band. If so many cards are good, don't they cancel each other out? Interesting. First off, welcome to the chat. Interesting. That is the idea of if everybody's super nobody is, and that's how you get these like turn 2 explosive games, right? When we look at how Standard evolved, at the very end it was either I kill you on turn 2 or you never kill me ever, right? And it's just the games have such a strict duality of like kill you on 2, never die. Kill you on 2, never die. And so like I don't think that the idea of if there are so many crazy good cards that like everybody's just, if everybody has nukes, then we're all just nuking each other, right? Like there's no like strategic warfare. If it can't be fixed, had to be committed by the effect, it would be fair. You think so? Because I still think, I mean, you just leave that card up and ready. I think that card should just remove. So here's my thoughts. There are like a ton of I put a ton of cards on this list, and I don't think that all of them need to go. I think that the fact that like some of these cards, as we talked about before, techniques, tactics, strategies, principles, cards as techniques are just like a little too potent. I like a game that focuses on the middle two. Techniques and tactics, tactics and strategies. I think focusing on tactics and strategies is so cool. Having a bunch of little pieces come together to form your idea. And a lot of the cards that I saw here were just like very good in a vacuum, very good by themselves. And the fact that like I love these cards. These are some of my favorite cards in the entire game. I love Back Alley Haymaker. I love Passing the Torch. I love Desperate for Mainstream Success. But I know that they are incredibly good. And I don't like some of these other ones. I think Asui, Tokoyami, and Cementos are just like crazy strong. I think these cards are too strong for the thing that they should be doing. And so this is just my thought as a watch list. I think I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, your guys' opinions. This is a fairly long video, but there was a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about. Once again, I'm not calling for a ban on anything, and I think that it is not. We should make our voices heard of the things that we are not happy with. But I think getting out the pitchforks and being like, "Yo, ban this card," and anybody who thinks this card shouldn't be banned is rough. Tam put like half my decks in the slides, and you're doing great at events, River. You're doing super good. I just am I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what Jasco does. I want to pitchfork the frog. I just want to inform Jasco of how people feel. And so if you feel strongly about it, please get in the comments of the video. Let them know what's up. Jump into my Discord channel. I have a new link in my Discord. Apparently my Discord link on YouTube was not working. Jump in the Discord channel. That either the main My Hero one or mine. I'm not linking the main My Hero one. Fuck them. But like let's talk. There are people in Jasco that want to listen. There are people that in Jasco who have the authority to make decisions, that watch all these streams, that watch all this content. And so let your voices heard, but please do it constructively. There's no reason to be angry or upset about whatever, because once again, it's just a game we all love, a game we're all passionate about, so make it heard, but whatever. Anyways, with that said, you guys, thank you much for watching the video. I greatly appreciate it. I'm gonna try and do more Tam Talks here in the future, trying to do one a week, one every other week. But with that said, I wish you well.